Okay, let's dive in. When you think about football, or, really any team sport, your mind often jumps straight to the superstars, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Messi, Neymar, Mbappe.
Exactly. And we're sort of fed this narrative, right, that if you just collect enough individual brilliance, that's the golden ticket.
That's the winning formula, supposedly. Get the stars, win the trophies.
But the sources we've looked at today, they really challenge that whole idea head on.
They do. They offer a pretty compelling counterpoint looking beyond just the star power.
Right, so this deep dive isn't really about saying talent doesn't matter. Of course it does, but asking, is it really the most critical thing?
Or is it something else? Like strong leadership, real team unity.
That's the mission, to unpack these sources and see what truly makes the difference. Starting with football, yeah, but seeing how it applies more broadly.
And the material jumps right in, suggesting that, while headlines love the stars, history. Well, history tells a slightly different story sometimes.
How so?
Well, it points out that championships, the big trophies, they aren't always won by the team with the flashiest names or the highest payroll.
Okay, that's interesting. So the evidence doesn't perfectly line up with the superstar theory.
Not always, no. And the source brings up a really great example to illustrate this. Coach Luis Enrique.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
While the source highlights his successes, arguing they weren't just because he had, a roster full of elite players. That was part of it, sure, but not the whole story.
So what was the key, according to the source?
It emphasizes his vision, the discipline he demanded, and really crucially, his focus on building team spirit
Building it how?
by actively fostering trust, creating what the source actually calls a sense of family within the team.
Okay, so less about just managing egos and more about creating a genuinely cohesive unit.
Exactly, and that ties directly into what the source labels the myth of the star player.
The myth. Explain that a bit.
Well, the idea is, sure, a moment of genius from a star player can win you a specific match. A last-minute goal, an incredible save, you see it happen.
Right. We all remember those moments.
But the source argues that relying on that, it rarely wins you a whole league campaign or a major tournament. It's not sustainable.
Why not? If you have enough talent.
Because, as the source points out, focusing too much on individual glory can actually backfire. Egos clash.
Ah.
Yeah. And if the team's collective goal gets lost behind personal ambitions, even the most talented squad can just struggle. They don't click. They might fall apart under pressure.
Okay, makes sense. So if individual brilliance isn't the be-all and end-all and can even be a problem,
Yeah.
what is the real driver of success then, according to these sources?
Leadership, that's where the material really pivots. It argues that talent, even immense talent, it needs structure. It needs a shared mission.
And someone to guide it.
Precisely. An inspiring leader. That's presented as the real game changer.
And Luis Enrique is the embodiment of this.
He's presented as a key example, yes. The source highlights his approach, prioritizing things like work ethic, contribution to the team, putting that above just reputation or celebrity status.
So it's not about who has the biggest name, but who's contributing the most to the team's goals.
Exactly. And it mentions how he created really clear roles, making sure every single player felt, essential, valued, part of the plan.
That sounds like textbook transformational leadership, elevating the whole group.
That's how it's framed, and you can see how that changes things, right?
Yeah, definitely. When players know their job, feel trusted, feel part of a system, they play differently, with more heart maybe, more discipline.
That's the idea. That unity, forged by that kind of leadership, it turns talented individuals into a genuinely powerful collective force.
And the source says this isn't just a football thing.
Not at all. It explicitly argues the same principle holds true pretty much everywhere. Business teams, schools, even families. Any group trying to achieve something together.
So success isn't just about getting the best people on paper.
It's more about cultivating the right culture, having that clear shared vision, and crucially, having that effective unifying leadership in place.
Quite a contrast. The superstars grab the headlines, the big contracts,
But the leaders, they build the legacies. They build the winning cultures.
and they bring out the best in others, right? Help maybe underrated players step up.
Yes, exactly, and ensure that success feels like a shared thing, not just one person's triumph.
So looking at these sources, the main takeaway seems pretty clear.
It does feel compelling. Ultimately, it's teams that win, not just names on a shirt. Success seems to depend much more on having that builder, that guide, that leader.
More than just hoping a collection of famous players will magically figure it out.
Right.
Okay, so final thought then. Building on this idea that it applies everywhere, maybe step back and think for a second. Where in your own world, maybe at work or in communities you're part of, where have you seen that power of real leadership and team unity actually triumph over just, a collection of individual talents, something to chew on?